Hmm? Nandiyan na si Senator Soto? Nandiyan na? Ha? Papunta na rito? Ay, ito. So, paluin ko na, Mr. Soto. Ikaw ang prayer eh. The 51st session of the Senate in the third regular session of the 16th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Vicente C. Soto III will lead our chamber in prayer.
Our prayer for this afternoon is lifted from the prayers of Stormy Omartian. Dear Lord, you said that in the last days you will pour out your Spirit upon all flesh. We humbly ask that you pour out your Spirit upon all us in this chamber. Pour out your Spirit upon whatever circumstances each of us are facing. Be Lord over every aspect of our lives. Speak to us and help us to hear from you. Enable us to understand your leading and directions for all the decisions we have to make. Open our ears to hear your truth so we will reject all lies. Help us to move by the power of your Holy Spirit. Empower us to rise above the onslaught of the enemy. Lord, your plans are above our plans for the country and our fellow countrymen. If there is anything we should or should not do, make it clear to us so that we will do the right thing. Holy Spirit of truth, reveal the truth that needs to be seen and guide us in our response to them always. I pray that we will never grieve your Holy Spirit, but will receive him as a gift from you. Fill us with your Holy Spirit and pour into us your wisdom, peace, faith, hope, and truth. And let the spirit of praise arise in our hearts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. With the permission of the chamber, the chair declares a 1-minute suspension. Oh. Sorry? Oh, 11 pa rin? Wala na pa sila mo sa hospital. The session is resumed. The Secretary will call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero S., Cayetano Pia S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Hunasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Po, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
14 senators are present. The chair declares the presence of a quorum. The Majority Leader, Senator Sani Angara, is recognized.
President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 50th Session, Monday, January 25, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the reading of the journal of the previous session is hereby dispensed with, and upon motion of the Majority Leader, the same is hereby approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will read the reference of business.
Bills on first reading. Senate number 3094 entitled An Act Defining the Crime of Robbery of Train Implements, classifying the act as heinous crime and imposing penalty thereof, by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito.
Justice and Human Rights.
Senate number 3095, an act creating the Mindanao Railways Corporation, prescribing its powers, functions, and duties, and providing for the necessary funds for its operation, by Senator Pimentel III.
Government Corporations and Public Enterprises, Public Service, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Committee reports. Committee report number 375, submitted by the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, on House number 4467, introduced by Representatives Gullas and Matugas, entitled An Act Declaring 2 parcels of land of the public domain located in the city of Naga, province of Cebu, as agricultural land open to disposition for agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial, or other productive purposes, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee report number 376, submitted by the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, on House number 4426, introduced by Representatives Acop and Matugas, entitled An Act Declaring as agricultural land certain parcels of land of the public domain, embraced by Proclamation number 585, situated in Barangay San Jose, in the city of Antipolo, province of Rizal, in declaring the same open to disposition, recommending approval with an amendment. Senator Escudero, sponsor. Committee report number 377, submitted by the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, on House number 4608, introduced by Representatives Arnaiz and Matugas, entitled An Act Reclassifying Parcel of Land located in Barangay Dos, Baez City, province of Negros Oriental, into agricultural land for socialized housing project, recommending its approval with an amendment. Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee report number 378, submitted jointly by the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources, Tourism, and Finance, on Senate number 1364, introduced by Senator Ejercito Estrada, entitled An Act Declaring the Island of Malapascua, province of Cebu, as an ecotourism destination of the Philippines, and for other purposes, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee report number 379, submitted by the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, on House number 4466, introduced by Representatives Evardone and Matugas, entitled An Act Declaring as agricultural land portions of timberland located in barangays Factoria, Saugan, Dalid, Bagakay, Dao, Hapay, Bantayan, Mabuhay, Burak, Tawagan, Poblasyon, Binalayan, Batu, Calao, Agsam, Naga-Naga, and Trinidad Maycorot, in the municipality of Oras, province of Eastern Samar, recommending approval with amendments. Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee report number 380, submitted by the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources, on House number 4643, introduced by Representatives Roman and Matugas, entitled An Act Reclassifying a Parcel of Land of the Public Domain located in the municipalities of Dinalupihan and Hermosa, province of Bataan, as agricultural land open to disposition for commercial, residential, and other purposes, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee report number 381, submitted jointly by the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources, Tourism, and Finance, on Senate number 2308, introduced by Senator Legarda, entitled An Act Declaring the Municipality of Talaingod, Davao del Norte, as an eco-cultural tourism zone, establishing for the purpose the Talaingod Cultural Heritage Village, providing for its development, and appropriating funds, therefore recommending its approval with amendments, taking into consideration House number 2698, Sponsor, Senator Escudero. Committee Report number 382 submitted by the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies on House number 3785, introduced by Representative Guan Lao et al., entitled An Act Strengthening and Institutionalizing Direct Credit Support of the Land Bank of the Philippines to Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries, Small Farmers, and Fisherfolk, further amending Republic Act number 3844, otherwise known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code, as amended, recommending its approval with amendments taking into consideration Senate numbers 447, 780, 2090, and 2142. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III. And Committee Report number 383 submitted by the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies on House number 5417, introduced by Representative Colliantes et al., entitled An Act Regulating the Philippine Credit Card Industry, recommending its approval with amendments taking into consideration Senate numbers 315, 384, 602, 1312, 1620, 1704, 1714, 1768, 1818, 1920, and 2642. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
Calendar for ordinary business. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before we move to the privileged speeches, I move that we recognize some of our guests in the gallery. We have with us the Department of Labor Assistant Secretary Joji Aragon, from the DOF, USEC Jeremiah Paul, Division Chief Miriam Tasara, Deputy Executive Director from DOLE Patricia Hornilla, Attorney Jamilyn Hamias, OIC Executive Director Grace Riguer, Director Dominic Tutay, Ms. Ruth Rodriguez, and Attorney Maria Ayuyao. I move that they be recognized, Mr. President.
The presence of our guests are made of record in this afternoon's session, and we welcome them to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the consent of the body, I move that we recognize Senator Marcos to speak on a matter of public interest.
Senator Marcos is recognized on a question of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, I ask today for the privilege to speak and address the Chamber in order to share with you and with our people a few thoughts about the national tragedy whose anniversary the nation marked yesterday, and which will again be the subject of inquiry in the Senate tomorrow. It seems hard to fathom that a full year has passed since that Sunday morning in January of last year, when each of us, in our respective ways, was wakened to learn of a violent incident that was unfolding in the town of Mamasapano, Maguindanao. That day remains vivid in my mind because I still remember what I instinctively tried to do upon hearing the news. My first instinct at the time was, as I am sure it was for most of us, to get updated news, and then to look for Mamasapano on a map of Mindanao. I rang up friends in government and the police and the military who might be able to tell me something about what was happening. Later, we got the second shock that for a fight that started in the dawn of Sunday, by mid-morning of that day, fighting in the area was still going on. And then came the truly distressing news that even by noon and way past noon, the exchange of fire was still continuing. In the end, the last of our surviving policemen rejoined his comrades, having fought his way back on the evening of the following Monday. It was in those circumstances that we learned, hour by hour, what a great and terrible tragedy our people and our nation has sustained in Mamasapano. Although a year has passed since that awful day, we Filipinos today still grieve, still weep together over Mamasapano in a spirit of mourning and of remembrance. The nation still mourns, not just the widows and the orphans, but all our people, because the slain commandos and civilians did not come from just one part of our country, but from all sections of the Philippines, without regard to geography, without regard to color or to creed. In words that describe how many of us feel, the Greek dramatist Aeschylus wrote, "Even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, and in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God." In these difficult times in our country, may we achieve that wisdom and receive that grace. Tomorrow, it falls on us here in the Senate to review and to examine the circumstances, and the reason why Mama Sapano happened the way it did. Why so many of our best and brightest men in uniform were brought down the way that they were. The purpose of the inquiry is not principally to find fault, but to gain understanding of the tragedy so that justice can be served and it will not be reenacted in our public life. I am troubled that in the days leading to the reopened inquiry, the public conversation has been racked by so many wild stories, even claims of alternative truths and supposed conspiracies, secret testimony, and the like, that confuse rather than enlighten. When I joined the SAF widows and families at Villamor Air Base in February last year, as we brought home the earthly remains of the martyred and the fallen, it struck me that the families' one constant prayer was that their loved ones would receive the justice that they deserve. They did not ask for money or benefits or for medals or decorations or ceremony or even recognition, talk that is now uppermost in the minds of some today. They, to a person, spoke only of justice for the martyred and for the fallen. And that appeal has not changed up to now. As a member of government and of Congress, it fills me with shame that in all these months that have passed, despite the grand pronouncements of immediate action and investigation, our government has not moved forward in meeting the appeal for justice. President Aquino himself has been forced by this great delay to acknowledge on the day of the anniversary, he himself is dismayed by how slow his government has been to bring justice to the families of the murdered victims of Mama Sapano. What the nation feels is beyond dismay, beyond impatience, beyond just sadness. But what the nation feels is a loss of part of our humanity as Filipinos. We feel this when we see that we have failed our very own sons, husbands, fathers, our very own declared heroes. If this is how we treat those that have given their lives in defense of the country, what fate the ordinary citizen? What fate for those we love and care for in our lives? For the heroes' families, we reach for the words that will soothe their pain and their sorrow, and for the gestures that might express the gratitude of the nation for the noble sacrifice of our SAF commandos. But there are no gestures that will bring succor to the families, no grand words that will ease the pain of the families of our policemen. Only justice will bring that. Only justice will do. The tragedy of Mama Sapano is not a sectional issue, not a problem of Mindanao alone, or just one part of Mindanao. It is a problem, it is a tragedy of the entire nation and of all our people. Mama Sapano is not a partisan issue, as some have callously suggested. On this issue, men and women of goodwill and generosity should be able to unite, regardless of politics, in order to find common ground by forging a way forward and in creating a future that all can share. Regardless of our specific role or duty, be we high officials or just ordinary citizens, our shared task and obligation now is to reach across the divisions in our country and to create a sense of community and unity with one another. We are one country. We are one people. So let us in this Senate ask our people to unite around this terrible tragedy. Beyond this chamber are the people that we serve. They have unspoken hopes in their hearts for a future in which all Filipinos of every creed, every color, every walk of life can find future of opportunity in which all of us can live in peace with one another and share in the blessings of this prosperity. Success in this endeavor depends on our building new relationships, initiating new dialogue, and opening up of new opportunities for citizens to take a stand, to get together. We cannot move forward to this bright future if we are unable as a nation to give the comfort and closure to the families of the murdered 44. We cannot bring our nation to that grand tomorrow if we fail our people in their protection, their well-being, and their confidence that whatever ills are visited upon them, society, the government will do all to right those ills, that government will give them justice. So it is with our SAF 44 families. The proper time for that has unfortunately long passed. The past year of inaction and neglect has seen to that. We must move now and move quickly to bring them justice. It is nothing less than a defining moment for us as a nation. From our Spanish heritage, there is a great saying, La esperanza muera al último. Hope dies last. Hope forever what you want to do. There is always hope. With that thought, and in this spirit, let us in this Senate strive to bring our people together. After all the pain and sorrow and memories of Mama Sapano. Justice, justice, justice is what the SAF families cry out for. Justice is what the nation needs if we should continue to be the compassionate and loving race that all Filipinos aspire to be. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Marcos.
Sir President, there are no members who wish to interpolate. I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Marcos to the same committees that are investigating the Masapano massacre. The three committees, the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, the Committee on Peace and Reunification, and the Committee on Finance. So move.
Any objection here? And so referred.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution number 1696.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of proposed Senate Resolution 1696 is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read the title and the text of the measure.
The Secretary is directed to do so.
Resolution number 1696, resolution congratulating and commending the outstanding young men, TOYM of the Philippines 2015 Award, honored by the Junior Chamber International Philippines Inc., TOYM Foundation Inc., and Jerry Rojas Foundation Inc. Whereas the outstanding young men, TOYM Awards, an annual project organized and presented by the Junior Chamber International Philippines, otherwise known as the Philippine JCs, the Jerry Rojas Foundation Inc., and the TOYM Foundation Inc., since 1959 seek to recognize young men and women whose selfless dedication to their profession and fields of endeavor contributed significantly to Philippine growth, thereby benefiting the Filipino people. Whereas to receive the esteemed TOYM Award, the Junior Chamber International Philippines chose 10 exceptional individuals from various fields of expertise who best personify this year's theme, Building Our Nation for Global Competitiveness. Whereas an advocate of genuine tax reform, Raymond A. Abrea, helps educate politicians, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and even lawyers in tax matters and offers strategies for small businesses to achieve their bottom line while paying appropriate taxes. Whereas 37-year-old engineer Jose Ramon Pialiling is one of the most trusted, professional, and sought-after construction managers in the country, and whose company is first in the Philippines to have triple ISO accreditation covering management system, environment, and occupational health and safety. Whereas Michael Barney R. Almasar, head of the monthly free legal aid clinic at the Philippine Embassy and Consulate in the United Arab Emirates, has devoted his practice to protect our migrant workers in the Middle East, where his practical approach to assisting distressed overseas Filipino workers is being used as the pilot model in protecting the rights of more than 3 million Filipinos in the Arab region. Whereas Dr. Geoffrey Brian Chua, a world-class scientist and educator, and presently a tenure-track assistant professor at the Nanyang Business School, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore, has been teaching for 15 years and has consistently received high teaching evaluations and designing with a team of experts strategies to coordinate agencies and improve logistics during disasters in Asia. Whereas at a very young age, multimedia journalist and documentary filmmaker Patricia C. Evangelista has already 6 international and 9 local awards recognizing her works that focus on human rights, conflict, disaster, development, and public interest issues. Whereas respected pianist, composer, and musical director Sofronia P. Fortis Jr. manages a career spanning 2 countries, an active figure in the local theater scene in Manila, and the musical director of Hong Kong Disneyland, holding high the banner for Filipinos who work to bring happiness to millions of visitors of said park. Whereas with numerous awards up his sleeve, such as Asia's most influential digital media professionals, Digital Marketer of the Year, Digital Leader of the Future Award, Young Market Masters Award in Online Marketing, Certified Entrepreneur title by the Canadian Institute of Entrepreneurship, and the first recipient of the SPI Global Young Leadership Award in the Asia CEO Awards, Donald Patrick L. Lim, founder of Digital Marketing in the Philippines, is cited for his leadership in digitizing the Philippine business industry. Whereas technology entrepreneur Nico Jose S. Nuliedo traces his humble beginnings as an assistant manager at a fast food chain before pursuing entrepreneurship and building Southeast Asia's largest listed consumer technology company, Surpass Inc., which is now trading at over 3 times its 2014 IPO price, valuing his 26% stake at about 6.3 billion pesos. Whereas University of the Philippines College of Pharmacy Associate Professor Roderick Al Salenga has devoted his life's work to improving the pharmacy practice in the country, such that during his term as chairman of the Department of Pharmacy in State University, he was able to introduce breakthrough academic models aimed at enhancing the training of pharmacy students. Whereas accomplished entrepreneur Rogelio B. Santos Jr. has been significantly raising the bar in business by merging pioneering technologies together with social enterprises such as his Amilex company, where they undertake nanomolecular research and clinical studies in the field of Alzheimer's disease, and the Butterfly House, a non-government organization whose product is specifically designed to meet the needs of internally displaced people. Whereas this year's award is joined the ranks of outstanding Filipinos who have been honored by the Junior Chamber International Philippines throughout the past 56 years. Whereas the Philippine Senate proudly joins the Junior Chamber International Philippines Inc., Toym Foundation Inc., and the Jerry Ross Foundation Inc. in congratulating and commending the Filipinos who have proven their mettle for service of the greater good through the Outstanding Young Men, TOYM of the Philippines 2015. Now, therefore, be it resolved, as it is hereby resolved, that the Senate of the Philippines congratulate and commend the Outstanding Young Men, TOYM of the Philippines 2015 Award, honored by the Junior Chamber International Philippines Inc., TOYM Foundation Inc., and the Jerry Ross Foundation Inc., namely 1. Raymond A. Abrea for Accounting and Finance. 2. Engineer Jose Ramon P. Aliling for Civil Engineering. 3. Michael Barney R. Almazar for Law, Legal Aid. 4. Geoffrey Brian A. Chua for Education. 5. Patricia C. Evangelista for Journalism. 6. Safronio P. Fortis Jr. for Arts and Music. 7. Donald Patrick L. Lim for Community Development. 8. Nico Jose S. Nuliedo for Business. 9. Roderick L. Salenga for Public Health. 10. Rogelio B. Santos Jr. for Social Enterprises.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before we move to approve the resolution, I move that we recognize some of the guests who have accompanied the TOYM winners. There is Yeager Tanco, the National Chairman of the TOYM 2015 Search Committee, Christopher Camba, the National Secretary General of the JCI Philippines, Hilario Cruz, the Executive Director of the TOYM Foundation Incorporated, Dicky Puyod, 2013 National Chairman of the TOYM Search, and we also have with us students from Colegio de la Purísima Concepcion, College of Criminal Justice, Rojas City, headed by Professor Ronnie Ausa, and students from the Aklan Catholic College Criminology Education Department, Calibo Aklan, headed by Professor Richie Mateo. I move that they be recognized, Mr. President.
The presence of our guests is hereby acknowledged, and their presence is made of record at this afternoon session.
Mr. President, I'd also like to put on the record that of the current membership of the Senate during the 16th Congress, there are 8 past winners of the 10 Outstanding Young Men Awards. If I may put it on the record, you have Senator Miriam Santiago, Senator J.V. Ejercito Senator Cheese Escudero, Senator Gringo Honasan, Senator Lauren Legarda, Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Alan Cayetano, and this representation, Mr. President.
All right. Do you also want a resolution of...
I don't remember receiving one when I was a winner, Mr. President.
yeah,
Can we
except
still,
that you're no longer young, so
can
the
we still-
resolution is no longer appropriate.
Can
So-
we have a prospective one? Anyway, Mr. President, joking aside, I move that we approve proposed Senate Resolution number 1696, subject to style.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 1696 is hereby adopted, subject to style.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend session to allow the senators to congratulate the 2015 winners of the TOYM.
Yes, the session is suspended to allow our colleagues to congratulate the awardees and to have the traditional picture pose in the rostrum for their souvenir shot. Session suspended.
Dami.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we transfer Senate Bill 3091 under Committee Report 359 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
Mr. President, with the permission of the Senate, I move that we consider Senate Bill 3091 under Committee Report 359.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
I move that the Secretary read only the title of the measure.
The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act institutionalizing the nationwide implementation of the Jumpstart Philippines program and providing funds therefor.
Mr. President, I move for recognition as the sponsor of the measure.
The acting majority leader is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. It is an honor as your chairman of the committee on acting chairman on Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development to sponsor Senate Bill 3091 under Committee Report 359, the Jumpstart Bill. Mr. President, the 2011 United Nations or UN World Youth Report cited youth employment and difficulty accessing work as an urgent concern worldwide. The Philippines is not spared from this widespread problem, despite posting remarkable GDP growth in recent years. There are some ripples of progress. The October 2015 Labor Force Survey shows a decline in the unemployment rate to 5.7% from 6.8% in October 2014. Youth unemployment also decreased from 15.7% in 2014 to 13.5% in 2015. Yet that rate is more than twice the national rate. Those aged 15 to 24 years old accounted for up to 48% of the country's unemployed. Karamihan ng walang trabaho sa bansa ay mga kabataan na tila'y nagsisimula pa lamang. Hirap na silang makahanap ng trabaho, papaano pa kaya ang pakainin, bihisan, paaralin at gawan ng bahay ang kanilang mga pamilya at minamahal sa buhay, Mr. President. A 2015 ILO report urges that reversing youth unemployment should be prioritized since it incites social tension, undermines national progress, and most importantly, aggravates inequality. Tackling such inequity should be one of our foremost concerns. Ayon sa Nobel Prize awardee na si Joseph Stiglitz, ang pinakamahalagang polisiya na nagre-resulta sa patas na distribusyon ay ang pagkakaroon ng full employment. If we provide our youth with appropriate skills and decent jobs, we can continue to thrive. But if the opposite stays true, our youth may become a burden to society. Noong May 2014, sinimulan natin ang solidong aksyon upang resolbahin ang youth unemployment sa pamamagitan ng Jumpstart Philippines na nagkaroon ng pilot programming sa mga piling local government units or LGUs. Ito ay naisakatuparan sa pakikisa ng Department of Labor and Employment sa Government of Canada at sa Asian Development Bank or ADB. The program covers the critical school-to-work transition of youth, not in education, employment, or training. Mr. President, the odds are already stacked against this group of 4.4 million individuals with lower levels of education and household income. Ang Jumpstart ay may mahalagang layunin tulad ng pag-establisa ng mga makabago at mas mabilis na paraan na makatutulong sa mga kabataan na makakuha ng trabaho. Jumpstart enhances the employability of at-risk youth. One notable example is the story of 20-year-old Edmond Tadeo from San Fernando, Pampanga, who held different jobs for several months for subsistence. He initially dropped his aspirations, bearing in mind that he only finished high school. After undergoing Job Start, Edmond not only learned how to deal with people, he also set for himself long-term career goals. The former welder, tricycle driver, and gasoline attendant is now a cartoon maker for a creative manufacturing firm in Angeles, Pampanga. A November 2014 midterm review proved that Job Start delivered mutual benefits to employers and trainees. Partner establishments were satisfied with the Job Start program. Meanwhile, Job Start trainees were reportedly more confident from the program's training in life skills. Mr. President, this motivated us to file the Senate Bill 3091 under Committee Report 359, otherwise known as the Job Start Philippines Act. Our measure institutionalizes the program with an objective to enhance the competence of at-risk youth through a mixture of traditional classroom instruction, hands-on learning, and on-the-job training. The Department of Labor and Employment is mandated to establish a Job Start unit at the Bureau of Labor and Employment and in every DOLE regional office that will provide technical and administrative assistance to concerned PESOs or Public Employment Service offices. The targeted beneficiaries of Job Start are unemployed or out-of-school youth who are 18 to 24 years of age, reaching at least high school level, with none to less than a year of work experience and are not employed. Under Job Start, the trainee shall undertake a program divided into 3 phases. First is to undergo a 10-day life skills development phase, where the trainee shall be introduced to work ethics such as professionalism and time management, among others. Second is the technical training period, specific to the needs of the employer and the industry, or the general skills training for 3 months or less. And thirdly, the internship, where the trainee is subjected to actual job processes in real work settings lasting no more than 3 months or 600 hours. Here, young job seekers are mentored by employers, receive performance feedback, and gain preferential option to be hired as regular employees. Ginoong Pangulo, upang mas patatagin ang programang ito, nilalayo naming ipatupad ito sa mas maraming komunidad sa bansa. Kung mailalagay natin sa ayos ang employability ng mga kabataan, nakatitiyak tayo na mababawasan ang bilang nga ito na walang hanap buhay. Institutionalizing this program, Mr. President, assures that our children are given a fair chance at life. This is, in fact, the minimum requirement for the nation to sustain economic growth and spread its fruits to more sectors of society. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Angara.
Mr. President, I move to give our colleagues time to study the measure. I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 3091.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following: House Bill 5571 under Committee Report number 350, entitled An Act Granting the Mactan Electric Company, MECO, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate a distribution system for the conveyance of electric power to the end users in the city of Lapu-Lapu and the municipality of Cordova, province of Cebu. House Bill 5583 under Committee Report 355, entitled An Act Renewing for Another 25 Years the franchise granted to Masbate Community Broadcasting Company, Incorporated under Republic Act 7510, entitled An Act Granting the Masbate Community Broadcasting Company, Incorporated, a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the islands of Masbate and Romblon and the whole of Visayas and for other purposes. Letter C, House Bill 5844 under Committee Report 356, entitled An Act Granting the Avocado Broadband Telecoms Incorporated a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines, and House Bill 6038 under Committee Report number 357, entitled An Act Renewing for Another 25 Years the franchise granted to Corona International Incorporated under Republic Act number 7398.
Any objection? Hearing none, House Bill 5571, House Bill 5583, House Bill 5844, and House Bill 6038 are hereby transferred from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I move that we consider on second reading under one omnibus sponsorship the House bills enumerated as reported out under the respective committee reports. So,
any objection? Hearing none, approved.
with the permission of the body, I move that the Secretary read only the titles of the proposed bills without prejudice to inserting into the record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
House Bill number 5571, an act granting the Mactan Electric Company, Inc., MECO, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain a distribution system for the conveyance of electric power to the end users of the city of Lapu-Lapu and the municipality of Cordova, province of Cebu. 5583, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Masbate Community Broadcasting Co. Inc. under Republic Act number 7510, entitled an act granting the Masbate Community Broadcasting Co. Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting station in the islands of Masbate and Romblon and the whole of Visayas and for other purposes. House Bill number 5844, an act granting the Avocado Broadband Telecoms Inc. a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines. And House Bill number 6038, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Corona International Inc. under Republic Act number 7398.
The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Sergius Mena to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for all the House bills enumerated.
Senator Osmeña is recognized to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for House Bill 5571, 5583, 5844, and 6038.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to present for the Senate's approval the granting of 2 new franchise applications and the renewal of term for another 25 years of 2 more Philippine companies whose applications are manifested in the following House bills. House Bill number 5571, under Committee Report number 350, entitled an act granting Mactan Electric Company Inc., or MECO, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain a distribution system for the conveyance of electric power to the end users in the city of Lapu-Lapu and the municipality of Cordova, province of Cebu, introduced by Representatives Quisumbing, Del Mar, and Teodoro. And House Bill number 5844, covered by Committee Report 356, entitled an act granting the Avocado Broadband Telecoms Inc. a franchise to construct, install, establish, and operate and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines, introduced by Representatives Madrona, Teodoro, Salvacion, et al. And for renewal, House Bill number 5583, covered by Committee Report 355, entitled an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Masbate Community Broadcasting Company, Inc., Republic Act number 7510, entitled an act granting the Masbate Community Broadcasting Company, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the islands of Masbate and Romblon and the whole of the Visayas and for other purposes, introduced by Representatives Madrona, Teodoro, Co, et al. And number 4, House Bill number 6038, covered by Committee Report number 357, entitled an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Corona International under Republic Act 7398, introduced by Representatives Violago and Teodoro. Mr. President, the Committee on Public Services recommends the approval of these measures for the following reasons. First, all applicants have complied with the ownership and management requirements for the operation of public utilities and mass media under the 1987 Constitution. For public utility, Section 11 of Article 12 requires that, and I quote, no franchise certificate or any other form of authorization for the operation of a public utility shall be granted, except to citizens of the Philippines or to corporations or associations organized under the laws of the Philippines at least 60% of whose capital is owned by such citizens. For mass media, the requirements are laid down in Section 11, Paragraph 1 of Article 16, which states that the ownership and management of mass media shall be limited to citizens of the Philippines or to corporations, cooperatives, or associations wholly owned and managed by such citizens. The Constitution further imposes a condition that any franchise or right granted is subject to amendment, alteration, or repeal by Congress when the common good so requires. Second, the supervising and regulatory agencies such as the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Telecommunications Commission or NTC, and the Energy Regulatory Commission or the ERC did not register any objection to the franchise applications or renewal of term of the aforementioned corporations. Finally, the committee has examined and evaluated the pertinent documentary requirements submitted by the applicants, such as their audited financial statements, permits to operate, the latest general information sheets, and company profiles found to have complied with the requirements prescribed by the relevant laws, rules, and regulations. Thus, the approval of the aforementioned House bills, as amended by the Senate, is earnestly sought. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Osmeña.
Mr. President, to give our colleagues time to study the measures, I move that we suspend the sponsored House bills. So moved.
Before we do that, the Chair would just like some information. Mr. Sponsor, who are the majority stockholders in Avocado Broadband Telecoms, just for the record?
That is the family of June Magsaysay, our former colleague.
And, okay. And the Corona International?
Corona is an old franchise. It's owned by the Silverio family. In this particular case, Edgar Silverio, the brother of Dante Silverio.
Thank you very much. That's all on the part of the Chair. There is a motion that we suspend consideration of the measures. Any objection? Hearing none, so suspended.
Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I move that we transfer House Bill 3785 under Committee Report 382 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none. Carried.
I move that we consider House Bill 3785 under Committee Report 382.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of House Bill 3785 is in order.
We move that the Secretary read only the title of the measure.
Secretary will do so.
An act strengthening and institutionalizing direct credit support of the Land Bank of the Philippines to agrarian reform beneficiaries, small farmers and fisher folk, further amending Republic Act Number 3844, otherwise known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code, as amended.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize Senator Osmeña to sponsor the measure.
Senator Osmeña is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. President and my esteemed colleagues. I am pleased to submit for the Chamber's approval House Bill number 3785 as amended by the Senate Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions and Currencies, entitled An Act Strengthening and Institutionalizing Direct Credit Support of the Land Bank of the Philippines to Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries, small farmers and fisher folk, further amending Republic Act 3844, otherwise known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code, as amended, as covered by Committee Report 383. House Bill 3785 was introduced in the House by Representatives Juan Lau, Bagilat, Antonino Nadres, Gonzales, and others. Said bill, as amended by the Senate Committee on Banks, took into consideration Senate Bill number 447, authored by Senator Recto, Senate Bill 780, authored by Senator Ejercito Estrada, and Senate Bills number 2090 and 2142, authored by Senator Poe. The proposed measure seeks to provide increased financial support to agrarian reform beneficiaries, small farmers, and fisher folk via the creation of a credit facility aimed at providing credit to the aforementioned sectors. House Bill number 3785, as amended by the Senate Committee on Banks, has several key provisions, namely, 1. The creation of a credit facility in the Land Bank of the Philippines in order to provide financial support to agrarian reform beneficiaries, small farmers, and fisherfolk. 2. Mandates the Land Bank to allocate 5% of its regular loan portfolio for credit to qualified small farmers, fisherfolk, and agrarian reform beneficiaries. 3. Mandates that the loan shall solely finance agricultural products in accordance with the provisions in Republic Act 10,000, otherwise known as the Agri-Agra Law. 4. Grants special interest rates to loans granted under the specialized credit facility equivalent to not more than 75% of the bank's prevailing rates for loans to cooperative. 5. Mandates that the common and preferred shares of stock be offered and issued to agrarian reform beneficiaries, small farmers, and fisherfolk through their organizations, cooperatives, federations, and cooperative banks. Agriculture, fisheries, and forestry income as a share of GDP has declined continuously from 20% in 1972 to 10% in 2014. By granting our farmers and fisherfolk and agrarian reform beneficiaries improved access to credit, we hope to stem the decline in agricultural productivity as a share of GDP and uplift the standard of living of our countrymen. Given the continued decline of agricultural output as a share in the nation's GDP, Mr. President, the passage of this bill is earnestly sought. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, once again, to give our colleagues time to study the measure, I move that we suspend House Bill 3785 in the meantime.
So suspended.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we transfer House Bill 5417 under Committee Report 383 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none, so transferred.
I move that we consider House Bill 5417.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
I move that the Secretary read only the title of the measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act regulating the Philippine credit card industry.
Mr. President, I move that we once again recognize Senator Sergio Mena to sponsor the measure.
Senator Osmeña is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I have the honor to sponsor and seek approval of this House Bill number 5417, entitled An Act Regulating the Philippine Credit Card Industry, as amended by your Senate Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies, as covered by Committee Report 383. House Bill 5417 was introduced by Representatives Collantes, Guanlao, Ponce Enrile, Romulo, and others. Said House Bill, as amended by the Senate, took into consideration Senate Bill number 315, authored by Senator Cynthia Villar, and Senate Bills number 1312, 1714, 384, 1818, 1620, 1704, and 1768, all authored by Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. The fortunes of the Philippine economy typically mirror the public's confidence in consumer spending. The global financial crisis beginning in 2007 highlighted the unique ability of the Philippines to be resilient against the weaknesses that brought the advanced economies and indeed the world economy to the edge of the proverbial financial cliff. While most other banking sectors worldwide faced contraction and challenges, the Philippine banking sector has consistently grown through the global turmoil. With that growth has come the rise of consumer finance, where credit cards play a significant role. Data from the credit card industry has shown that the number of active credit cards grew by 25.5% from 6,584,000 credit cards issued as of 2009 to 8,268,000 credit cards in 2014. More impressive is the fact that during the same 5-year period, Gross credit card billings increased by 87% from 316 billion to 590 billion. Evidently, the Filipino people have enjoyed the economic benefits of the use of credit cards and in the process creating business opportunities and spurring the growth for merchants. Unfortunately, Mr. President, these developments have brought with it added challenges. With the exponential increase in the number and usage of credit cards, credit card-related complaints from consumers have arisen, according to data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. These complaints include excessive charges, unauthorized fees, undisclosed charges, unfair collection, and harassment practices by credit card collection agents. Globally, there is active policy work being pursued in the area of over-indebtedness, and locally, requests for consumer debt restructuring have likewise been made by credit card holders. I note, Mr. President, that there is no express provision in the law that would protect the rights and interests of financial consumers, which includes credit card holders. While refuge may be sought under Republic Act 7394 or the Consumer Act of the Philippines, said statute is silenced with respect to the implementing agency that would oversee credit issues and or financial consumer protection. At present, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has taken up the cudgels for the credit card holders. Solely on the strength of Department of Justice Opinion number 69, which declared the BSP as the proper agency to enforce the provisions on consumer credit transactions under the Consumer Act. Against this backdrop, Mr. President, I stand before this chamber to sponsor this legislative measure that would not only strengthen the credit card industry, but also cure the apparent flaws in the system. There has been persistent clamor from the public for us legislators to take proactive action towards protecting the consumers from potential credit card excesses while nurturing the economic benefits from the same. I believe, Mr. President, that the time has come for us to respond to that clamor, and I propose to respond straightforwardly and unequivocally. Mr. President, at this juncture, let me go over the salient features of the bill. 1. The proposed bill formally grants the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas with supervisory powers over all credit card issuers and acquirers and all credit card transactions. 2. It outlines the BSP supervisory powers including A. The issuance of rules of conduct, B. Ascertaining compliance with laws and regulations through examination and overseeing, and C. Determining the reasonableness of fees and charges and issuing regulations thereon. Number 3, it sets disclosure and notification requirements from the credit card issuers. 4, it mandates confidentiality of information. 5, it requires credit card issuers to establish a consumer assistance unit within its organization, which shall be responsible for providing prompt action for the resolution of complaints, inquiries, and requests. And 6, it defines the appropriate collection practices and sets the responsibility upon the credit card issuer for all the actions of its collection agents. 7, it standardizes the method of computing the base amount for imposing the interest and finance charge on the unpaid outstanding balance by excluding new purchases after the statement cutoff date. 8, it rationalizes the late payment fee or penalty for late payment, considering that it is more in the nature of an administrative cost than a cost of credit. 9, a 90-day prior notice for changes in fees and the computation thereof have been included in the bill to afford the credit card holder an exit strategy and to exercise his right to terminate the account without penalty in case he does not agree with said charges. These are just some of the many critical features that the bill seeks to provide for our credit consumers. More than this, the end game for the bill is to be a catalyst that would establish a national policy on responsible credit services by credit card issuers on the one hand, and responsible debt management for the card holders on the other. We hope it inspires financial discipline at the micro level and redound to the benefit of all in the long haul. We have the collective responsibility to keep our credit market to operate in a safe and sound manner, and a legislative intervention is urgently needed to get our nation started towards this path of financial enlightenment and discipline. I call upon the honorable members of this chamber for your support of this landmark legislative measure. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Osmeña, for sponsoring this very critical measure to protect our consumers. Senator Angara, or Acting Majority Leader, has the floor.
Mr. President, again, to give our colleagues time to study the measure, I move that we suspend in the meantime House Bill 5417.
Before we act on the motion, the chair said the majority leader may consider the idea of closing the period for interpellation on this bill and the preceding one, have the committee amendments introduced, and have the interpellation based on the bill as with the amendments of the committee by tomorrow. If that is acceptable to the floor. There are committee amendments that the chair notices in the committee report.
Well, that would certainly facilitate a discussion on the bill, and given that we only have a few days remaining, we're open to that, Mr. President. So if that is the pleasure of the presiding officer, then there doesn't seem anyone.
But may we ask the view of the sponsor?
We can do that in about 10 minutes. I'll just have the staff bring down the amendments.
The amendments are those, there are amendments as part of the committee report, Senator Osmeña.
Yes.
In addition to that, do you
we
have
added a few new ones, so they'll bring it down.
All right, so with that understanding, we suspend consideration of the measure.
So, President, with the consent of the body, I move that we transfer Senate Bill 3090 under Committee Report 358 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
Any objection? Hearing none.
With the permission of the Senate, I move that we consider Senate Bill 3090 under Committee Report 358.
Approved.
I move that the Secretary read only the title of the measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act amending certain provisions of RA 9547, otherwise known as an act strengthening and expanding the coverage of the special program for the employment of students, amending for the purpose provisions of RA 7323, otherwise known as the special program for employment of the students.
Mr. President, I move for recognition as the sponsor.
The chair recognizes the acting majority leader as the sponsor of the measure.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to sponsor Senate Bill 3090 and Committee Report 358, amending Republic Act 9547, or the SPES law, the Special Program for the Employment of Students. The Philippine Constitution recognizes the youth's vital role in nation building, mandating that education be given top priority as a means to promote their total development. But for years, we have had trouble with keeping our young in school. Iba-iba po ang dahilan bakit tumitigil ang ating mga mag-aaral. Ngunit ito po'y hindi nila sadyang pinili. Libre nga po ang matrikula, kaso dumadagdag at bumibigat ang gastos para sa mga libro, materyales, pamasahe, pagkain, at iba pang miscellaneous fees. Minsan, mas madali pa ang tumigil muna sa pag-aaral. In 1992, during the 8th Congress, then President Cory Aquino signed Republic Act 7323, which created a multi-agency program that would help poor but deserving students continue studying by encouraging establishments and government agencies to employ them during their summer and or Christmas vacations. Bukod sa munting sahod, para sa ilang buwan ng trabaho, binibigyan ng mga education vouchers ang mga estudyanteng kasama sa programa. Patuloy silang nakakapag-aral habang nagdadagdagan ang manpower ng mga kumpanya, pati na rin ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno. In 2008, Mr. President, Republic Act 7323 was amended through Republic Act 9547 to improve the program. Its coverage was open to more students and to more employers. Students could now be hired during any time of the year. An annual 20% increase in the budget allocation for the program was also legislated then. The initiative was formerly called the Special Program for the Employment of Students, or the SPES. Today, the SPES is implemented through the help of the Public Employment Services Offices, or PESOs, of the different local government units. Mr. President, we sponsor this measure today to further strengthen the SPES law and to ensure that more of our poor but deserving students are placed under its wing. Our aims include the following. Firstly, a wider beneficiary coverage. So instead of the existing 15 to 25 years old requirement, our measure includes people who are 15 to 30 years old, based on the definition of youth in Republic Act 8044 or the Youth in Nation Building Act of 1994. The program's scope is expanded to include out-of-school youth, or OSYs, and dependents of workers displaced or would be displaced by business closures, work stoppages, or natural calamities. Secondly, there's an extended maximum SPES period. The maximum SPES period will be expanded from 52 days to 78 days, or 3 months. Thirdly, we want to legislate greater efficiency. Previously, students were paid through education vouchers given to their respective schools or educational institutions. Pinabagal ng red tape at bureaukrasya ang sistema. May ilang estudyante ang hindi nakatanggap ng kanilang mga tseke. Kaya sa panukalang batas na ito, minamandato na magkaroon ng panibagong sistema kung saan direktang binabayaran ng mga kasaping estudyante sa pamagitan ng automated teller machines or ATMs. Ito'y maihahambing sa pagbayad sa sumasailalim sa ilang proseso ng 4Ps program. Pang-apat, yung support for low-income local government units. This measure allows more low-income LGUs to participate by allowing them to pay SPES beneficiaries at least 25% of the daily wage, with the DOLE covering the balance. The scheme will vary based on the paying capacity of the LGUs and will be defined in the implementing rules and regulations. These amendments are expected to ensure efficient, effective, and expeditious implementation of the SPES program nationwide. Ginoong Pangulo, mahalaga na maipasa natin ang panukalang batas na ito. Sa ganitong paraan, mabibigyan po ang ating kabataan ng mas patas na pagkakataon para mag-aral at iangat ang antas ng kanilang buhay at ng kanilang mahal sa buhay. Kapag hindi na sila tumigil sa kanilang pag-aaral, gaganda po ang kanilang kinabukasan. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Presidente. Mr. President, to give our members time to study the measure, perhaps we could suspend consideration of the bill. Senate Bill 3090. So move.
Consideration of the measure is suspended.
Mr. President, I move for an additional reference of business.
The Secretary will read the additional reference of business.
Messages of the President of the Philippines, letters of His Excellency President Benigno S. Aquino III, dated 20 January 2016, submitting for the Senate's consideration and concurrence the agreement to promote compliance with international conservation and management measures by fishing vessels on the high seas, an agreement on port state measures to prevent, deter, and eliminate illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, which was signed on 22 November 2009.
Foreign Relations.
Bills on first reading, number 3096, an act penalizing violations of quarantine orders by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Health and Demography.
3097, an act to provide for the analysis of the incidents and effects of sexual abuse in detention and to provide information, resources, recommendations, funding, and punishment to protect individuals from sexual abuse in detention by Senator Santiago.
Justice and Human Rights, Public Order, Dangerous Drugs, Finance.
3098, an act creating office ergonomic standards to address the health risks related
Labor,
to computer
Employment,
use
and
in the
Human
workplace.
Resource Development.
3099, an act amending Republic Act number 8794, also known as an act imposing motor vehicles users charge on owners of all types of motor vehicles and for other purposes, Section 6 on the penalty
Public
for
Works and
overloading.
Ways and Means.
3100, an act to enhance the efforts focused on public awareness and education about the risks and dangers associated with shaken baby syndrome.
Computers on Health and Demography, Finance.
3101, an act to establish the National Commission on the Impact of
Youth
Filipino
and
Culture on the
Finance.
Youth. 3102, an act banning public officers and employees from smoking within the work premises during official hours and working penalties therefore.
Civil Service, Government Organization, Professional Regulation.
3103, an act establishing a statute of repose for durable goods used in a trade or business.
Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
3104, an act mandating a uniform random drug testing
Games,
for professional
amusements, and
athletes.
sports.
3105, an act establishing green energy for homes and buildings program, Department of Energy to provide financial assistance to promote residential, commercial,
Energy and
industrial.
Finance.
3106, an act protecting dolphins by informing consumers the origin of tuna products.
Agriculture and Food, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
3107, an act establishing a welfare and social assistance program to families left by overseas
Labor,
Filipino
Employment,
workers.
and Human Resource Development, Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
3108, an act improving the safety of non-motorized transportation, including pedestrian and bicycle safety in the vicinity of the schools.
Public Services, Local Government, Finance.
3109, an act requiring every school to have at least one person certified in cardiopulmonary
Education, Arts and
first
Culture, Health and
attendance.
Demography.
3110, an act amending Republic Act Number 9211, otherwise known as Tobacco
Health and
Regulation Act
Demography, Trade, Commerce, and
2029.
Entrepreneurship.
3111, an act amending Republic Act 6539, Carnapping Act of 1972, Section 14 of penalties for carnapping.
Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
3112, an act protecting private property rights of requiring government agencies to prepare private property taking impact
Justice
analysis.
and Human Rights.
3113, an act requiring health plans to provide coverage for the minimum hospital stay for mastectomies, lumpectomies, and lymph node dissection for the treatment of breast cancer and coverage
Health and
for secondary
demography.
consultations. 3114, an act regulating the decibel emission of toys.
Committees on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, Health and Demography.
3115, an act establishing a pilot program that requires schools for post-nutritional content
Education, Arts
information
and
in
Culture,
schools.
Health, Demography, and Finance.
3116, an act providing grants and electronic device recycling research, development, and development administration
Environmental
projects.
and Natural Resources, Finance.
3117, an act amending Title 2, Book 2 of Republic
Local
Act
Government,
7160
Education, Arts and
1991.
Culture.
3118, an act regulating the use of motor-driven vehicles
Public
in residential
Services, Health,
areas.
and Demography.
3119, modernizing the crime investigation techniques
Public
of law
Order and
enforcement
Dangerous
agencies.
Drugs.
3120, an act establishing a national scholarship program for
Science
students.
and Technology and
Engineering.
Finance.
3121, an act requiring the disclosure of the source of funding of publicly funded
Public
advertisements.
Information and Mass Media, Finance.
3122, an act creating a database of products containing probable
Health and
carcinogens.
Demography, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
3123, an act directing the electronic recording of custodial
Justice
interrogations
and
of
Human
men
Rights, Public Order and
confessions.
Dangerous Drugs and Finance.
3124, an act establishing a national crime
Public
database.
Order and Dangerous Drugs, Justice and Human
3125.
Rights and Finance.
An act establishing a pregnancy support services
Health and
under Office of
Demography,
Health.
Women, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
3126, an act providing for establishment of a committee to identify and coordinate international science technology cooperation that can strengthen domestic science, technology, enterprise,
Science
foreign
and
policy
Technology.
goals. 3127, an act authorizing the Secretary of Health to make grants to promote professional retrofit installation of fire alarm, detection system, and other
Health
fire
and
protection
Demography,
care
Local
facilities.
Government.
3128, an act providing for tax relief in times of
Ways and
calamity.
Means.
3129, informing the public about additives and pet
Trade,
food.
Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, Health and Demography.
3130, establishing a partnership program in foreign
Education,
language
Arts and
education.
Culture.
3131, abolishing the road board created by virtue of Republic Act Number 8794 and transferring its powers and functions to Department of Public Works and Highways and the Department of Transportation and Communications, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 8794 by
Committees
Senator
on Public
Pimentel
Works
III.
and Public Services.
3132, an act protecting the rights of internally displaced persons and penalizing the acts of
Justice and
adverse
Human
internal-
Rights, Social Justice, Welfare, Rural Development, Finance.
Resolution 1721, congratulating and commending the awardees of the 2015 Manila Water Foundation Prize for Engineering Excellence, conducted by the Manila Water Foundation and the Department of Science and Technology, hosted by Senator Recto.
Rules.
Second additional reference of business. Committee Report 384, submitted jointly by the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation on House Bill Number 4679 by Representatives Cayetano and Zamora R., an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay South Signal Village in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending with amendment Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. Committee Report Number 385, submitted jointly by the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms and People's Participation on House Bill Number 4589, introduced by Representatives Cayetano and Zamora R., and creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Central Bicutan in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval with amendment. Senator Marcos sponsor. 386, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 487 by Representative Villanueva, and creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Navy in the municipality of Capas, province of Tarlac, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 387, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 4567 by Representative Garay, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Kumawas in the city of Bislig, Surigao del Sur, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Marcos Jr. 388, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 5482, introduced by Representative Garcia Albano, an act dividing Barangay Pampanga in the city of Davao into 3 distinct independent barangays to be known as Barangay Pampanga, Barangay Alfonso Alyongto Sr., and Barangay V. Hison, recommending its approval with amendment by Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 389, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 1462, introduced by Representative Uy, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Poblacion in the municipality of Villanueva, province of Misamis Oriental, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos sponsor. Committee report number 390, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 5478 by Representative Acharon, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Santa Cruz in the municipality of Tampakan, province of South Cotabato, recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Marcos Jr. Committee report number 391, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 4665, introduced by Representatives Cayetano and Zamora R., an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay South, Daanghari in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Marcos Jr. 392, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 4559, introduced by Representatives Cayetano and Zamora, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Central Signal Village in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Marcos Jr. 393, submitted jointly with the same committees on House Bill number 4588, introduced by Representative Del Rosario AG, entitled An Act Dividing Barangay Magugpo in the city of Tagum, province of Davao del Norte, into 5 distinct independent barangays to be known as Barangay Magugpo Poblacion, Magugpo East, Magugpo West, Barangay Magugpo North, and Barangay Magugpo South, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos sponsor. 394, by the same committees on House Bill number 4561, introduced by Representatives Cayetano, Zamora R., an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Tanyag in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 395, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 4574, Representative Cayetano et al., an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay New Lower Bicutan in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Marcos Jr. 396, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 4564, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay North Daanghari in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 397, by the same committees on House Bill 4562, introduced by Representative Cayetano and Zamora R., an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Katuparan in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 398, by the same committees on House Bill number 4575, by Representative Cayetano and Serafica, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay San Miguel in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Marcos Jr. 399, on House Bill 4563 by Representatives Cayetano and Zamora, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay North Signal in the city of Taguig, Metro Manila, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Marcos Jr. sponsor. 400, submitted by the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance and Ways and Means, and House Bill number 6212, introduced by Representative Villanueva et al., entitled An Act Converting the Tarlac College of Agriculture, TCA, in the municipality of Gamiling, province of Tarlac, into a state university to be known as the Tarlac Agricultural University, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 401, submitted jointly by the Committees on Education and Finance on House Bill number 5669, introduced by Representative Cagas, an act separating the Digos City National High School, Mati High School Annex, and Barangay Mati City of Digos, Province of Davao del Sur, from the Digos City National High School, converting it into independent national high school to be known as the Mati National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 402 by the same committees on House Bill number 5366, introduced by Representative Olivares et al., entitled An Act Separating the Parañaque National High School, La Huerta Annex, and Barangay La Huerta, City of Parañaque, Metro Manila, from the Parañaque National High School, converting it into independent national high school to be known as the La Huerta National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Cayetano P., sponsor. 403, submitted jointly by the Committees on Education and Finance, introduced by House Bill 5606, separating the Panagaan National High School, Paraiso Annex, and Barangay Panagaan, Municipality of Mahayag, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, from the Panagaan National High School, converting it into independent national high school to be known as Paraiso National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Cayetano Pia. 404 by the same joint committees, by the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture, on House Bill number 5953, introduced by Representatives Quesumbing and Romulo, an act renaming the Philippine Public Safety College Regional Training Center 7 in Consolacion, Province of Cebu, into the Camp Jesse M. Robredo Regional Training Center 7, National Police Training Institute, Philippine Public Safety College, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano, please sponsor. 405, submitted jointly by the Committees on Education, Culture, and Finance on House Bill number 545, introduced by Representative Abweg et al., an act separating the Quezon Panitian National High School, Malatgao Extension, Barangay Malatgao, Municipality of Quezon, Province of Palawan, from the Quezon Panitian National High School, converting it into independent national high school to be known as Malatgao National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 406 by the same committees on House Bill number 5364, introduced by Representative Lobrigat, an act separating the Ayala National High School, Talongatong Annex, and Barangay Tunongatong, Zamboanga City, from the Ayala National High School, converting it into independent national high school to be known as Tulungatong National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 407 by the same committee, introduced by Representative Padilla on House Bill number 2297, an act changing the name of Kasibu National Agricultural School, being administered by the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, TESDA, and Barangay Pudi, Municipality of Kasibu, Province of Nueva Vizcaya, to Nueva Vizcaya Polytechnic Institute, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 408, submitted by the Committee on Arts and Culture on House Bill number 1847, introduced by Representative Madrona, an act changing the name of Alcantara National Trade School to Romblon National Institute of Technology, recommending its approval without amendments. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 409, submitted jointly by the Committees on Education and Culture and Finance on House Bill 5363 by Representative Abweg, separating the Tarusa National High School, Malihud Extension, Barangay Malihud, Municipality of Batarasa, Province of Palawan, from the Tarusa National High School, converting it an independent national high school to be known as Malihud National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Pia Cayetano, sponsor. 410, submitted jointly with the same committees, and House Bill number 844 by Representative Padilla, an act declaring the Bolete Pass in Santa Fe, Nueva Vizcaya as National Shrine, to be known as the Bolete Pass National Shrine, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 411, submitted jointly with the Committees on Education and Culture and Finance on House Bill number 604, introduced by Representatives Rubiano and Coanco K, an act establishing National Science High School in the city of Pasay to be known as Pasay City National High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 2413. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 412 by the same joint committees on House Bill number 5446, by Representative Abweg, an act separating the Governor Alfredo Abweg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, Aribungos, Extension and Barangay Aribungos, Municipality of Brooks Point, Province of Palawan, from the Governor Alfredo Abweg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Inil Utaha Memorial National High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor Senator Cayetano Pia. 413 by the Committee on Education, Arts and Culture on House Bill number 5873, introduced by Representatives Yu and Cojuangco K, an act changing the name of Juan Lumosad Memorial National High School, Monte Alegre Annex in Barangay Monte Alegre, Municipality of Aurora, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, to Monte Alegre National High School, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 414, submitted jointly with the Committee on Education, Arts and Culture and Finance on House Bill number 5386, introduced by Representative Cosalan, and act separating the Lipanto National High School, Palatong Annex and Sitio, Palatong, Barangay Tabio, Municipality of Mangkayan, Province of Benguet, from the Lipanto National High School, converting it to independent national high school to be known as Tabio National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Cayetano Pia. 415, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 5365, introduced by Representative Lobrigat, an act separating the Don Pablo Lorenzo Memorial High School, Pasunanga, Annex and Barangay Pasunanga, Zamboanga City, from the Don Pablo Lorenzo Memorial High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Pasunanga National High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor Senator Cayetano Pia. 416, submitted jointly by the same joint committees on House Bill number 5670 by Representative Tejada, an act separating the Banisilan National High School, Carugmanan Annex in Barangay Carugmanan, Municipality of Banisilan, Province of Cotabato, from Banisilan National High School, converting it to an independent national high school to be known as Carugmanan National High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 417, submitted by the Committee on Education and Culture on House Bill 5568 of Representatives Co and Romulo, entitled an act renaming the Milagros School of Fisheries, popularly known as the Masbate School of Fisheries, in the Municipality of Milagros, Province of Masbate, as the Masbate Institute of Fisheries and Technology, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 418, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 5362, introduced by Representative Puente Belia et al., an act separating the Dr. Rodolfo V. Pomor Jr. Memorial National High School, Sangay Western High School, Annex and Barangay Tinorongan, Municipality of Sangay, Province of Camarines Sur, from the Dr. Rodolfo B. Pomor Jr. Memorial National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Tinorongan National High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 419, submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill 3212 by Representative Bulat Begtang, an act separating the Conair Central National High School, Talifugo Annex and Barangay Talifugo, Municipality of Conair, Province of Apayao, from the Conair Central National High School, converting it into independent national technical vocational high school to be known as Talifugo National Agricultural and Trade High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 420, submitted jointly with the Committees on Education, Culture, and Finance on 4632 by Representative De Venecia and Cojuangco K, an act converting the Judge Jose De Venecia Senior Memorial National High School in Barangay Bulusan, City of Dagupan, Province of Pangasinan, into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Judge Jose De Venecia Senior Technical Vocational Secondary School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 421 by the same joint committees on House Bill 3222, an act separating the Conair Central National High School, Cupis Annex 2 and Barangay Cupis, Municipality of Conair, Province of Apayao, from the Conair Central National High School, converting it to an independent national technical vocational high school to be known as Cupis National Agricultural and Trade High School, and appropriating funds therefore, recommending its approval of amendments. Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 422 by the same joint committees on House Bill number 4894, introduced by Representative Fuentebella et al., and converting the Villafuerte Peña High School in Barangay Ponglon, Municipality of San Jose, Province of Camarines Sur, into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Juan C. Peña National Technical Vocational High School, and appropriating funds therefore recommending its approval without amendment by Senator Pia, sponsor. Committee Report 423 submitted jointly by the same committees on House Bill number 5574 by Representative Dalo et al., an act converting the Salyoc National High School in Barangay Salyoc, Municipality of Natunin Mountain Province, into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Salyoc National Technical Vocational and Skills Training High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Pia Cayetano, sponsor. 424 by the same joint committees on House Bill number 5573, introduced by Representative Daloy et al., an act converting the Sanlanga National High School in Barangay Poblacion, Municipality of Sadanga Mountain Province, into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Sadanga National High School Vocational Skills Training High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 425 by the same joint committees on House Bill number 6155, introduced by Representative Lobrigat et al., an act establishing a national high school in Barangay San Roque, Zamboanga City, to be known as San Roque National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Pia, sponsor. Committee Report number 426, submitted jointly by the Committees on Education, Arts, and Culture and Finance on 5668 by Representative Husalan, an act separating the Atok National High School annexed in Barangay Camp 30, Kaliking, Municipality of Atok of Benguet, from the Atok National High School, converting it to an independent national high school to be known as Camp 30 National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Cayetano, sponsor. 427 by the same joint committees on 5960 of Representative Biason, an act converting the Lakeview Elementary School and the Pedro E. Diaz High School, Lakeview Annex in Barangay Potatan, City of Muntinlupa, Metro Manila, into integrated school to be known as Lakeview Integrated School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Cayetano Pia, sponsor. 428 by the same joint committees on House Bill number 5385 by Representative Olivares, an act establishing a national high school in Barangay Santo Niño, Parañaque City, to be known as Santo Niño National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval without amendment, Senator Pia, sponsor. 429 by Committee on Public Services on 6053, introduced by Representative Robes et al., an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Soul Broadcasting, Inc., amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7297, entitled an act granting Soul Broadcasting Network, Inc., a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines, and for other purposes, as amended by Republic Act number 7968, recommending its approval with amendments, Senator Osmeña III, sponsor. 430 by the Committee on Public Services on House Bill number 5859 by Representatives Madron and Teodoro, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to People's Broadcasting Service, Inc., under RA 7477 as amended by RA 9213. Recommending its approval with amendments, Senator Osmeña III, sponsor. 431 with the same committee on House Bill number 6021 of Representative Bayolago, an act granting the Filipinas Asian Pearl Airways, Inc., a franchise to establish, operate, and maintain domestic international air transport services, recommending its approval with amendments by Senator Osmeña III. And Committee Report number 432, submitted by the same committee on PS Res number 996, introduced by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito, entitled Resolution urging the proper Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the viability of rehabilitating and modernizing the Philippine National Railways for the purpose of considering radical transformation as a thread to curtail congestion, recommending its adoption taking into consideration the privileged speech delivered by Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito last June 10, 2015. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
To the calendar for ordinary business. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following bills. House Bill 5953 under Committee Report 404, House Bill 2297 under Committee Report 407, House Bill 1847 under Committee Report 408, House Bill 5873 under Committee Report 413, and House Bill 5568 under Committee Report 417. So moved, Mr. President.
Approved.
With the consent of the body, I move that we consider on second reading under one omnibus sponsorship the House bills enumerated.
This approved.
I move that the Secretary read only the titles of the proposed bills without prejudice to inserting into the record the whole texts. So moved.
The Secretary is directed to do so.
House Bill number 5953, an act renaming the Philippine Public Safety College Regional Training School 7, PPSC RTS 7, in Consolacion, Province of Cebu, into the Camp JSM Robredo Regional Training Center 7, National Police Training Institute, Philippine Public Safety College. House Bill number 2297, an act changing the name of Casibo National Agricultural School, being administered by the Technical Education Skills Development Authority, TESDA, in Barangay Pudi, Municipality of Casibo, Province of Nueva Vizcaya, to Nueva Vizcaya Polytechnic Institute. House Bill number 1847, an act changing the name of Alcantara National Trade School to Romblon National Institute of Technology. House Bill number 5873, an act changing the name of Juan Lumosad Memorial National High School, Monte Alegre, annex in Barangay Monte Alegre, Municipality of Aurora, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, to Monte Alegre National High School. House Bill number 5568, an act renaming the Milagros School of Fisheries, popularly known as the Masbate School of Fisheries, in the Municipality of Milagros, Province of Masbate, as the Masbate Institute of Fisheries and Technology.
Majority Leader.
I move that we recognize Senator Pia Cayetano to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for all the House bills enumerated, Mr. President.
Senator Cayetano is recognized. The Chair notices that all these bills are for change of names. Is that a correct reading, Madam Sponsor?
Yes, Mr. President, these 5 bills that I'm about to sponsor are all change of names.
Can we just consider your sponsorship as being read into the record?
By all means, Mr. President, my speech is really just identifying them and stating that it's part of they've complied with the process. I have no problem, Mr. President. I move that my sponsorship speech be read into the record.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, the sponsorship speech is hereby read and reflected into the record.
Mr. President, to give our colleagues an opportunity to study the measure, I move that we suspend consideration of committee reports number 404, 407, 408, 413, and 417.
These are just change of names. Is
Yes.
there any member of the chamber who would interpolate?
Well, actually, if we may ask Senator Osmeña if that's okay with him. Change of names of schools. We usually give it a day, but yes, if Senator Osmeña is also okay with it. I know when I am ever majority, I know Senator Osmeña is one of those who ask for time to study the measure.
You mean you would like to have it approved now without interpolations?
It was the presiding officer's idea.
Yes, we confirm.
Well, if all those schools are named after senators, yes, I have no objections.
Seriously, Senator Osmeña, would you have basic objection?
I have no objection except on a matter of principle because, Mr. President, as you know,
Yes, we know that's right.
in the past we've had instances.
These-
But I leave it up to the discretion of the chair. I have no objection.
yes, these are just change of names, and maybe we can make an exception to our standing policy that we should give our colleagues at least one day to review the measure. These are all change of names.
No objection, Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator Osmeña. Thank you, Mr. President. Therefore, Mr. President, let's go through the motions and close the period of interpellation since there are no reservations.
Period of interpellation terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we open the period of committee amendments for all the
Committee
aforesaid
amendments
bills.
are in order.
There are no committee amendments, Mr. President. I therefore move to close the period of committee amendments.
Period for committee amendments terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments. And there are no reservations for individual amendments. I move that we close the period for individual amendments.
So terminated.
Mr. President, I therefore move to approve on second reading House Bills number 5953, 2297, 1847, 5873, 5568.
Any objection? Hearing none, House Bills 5953, 2297, 1847, 5873, 5568 are here, which involves all changes of names of the schools enumerated, are hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend considerations of the aforementioned bills.
So suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following: House Bill number 5863, House Bill number 3819, House Bill number 834, House Bill number 5360, House Bill number 4917, House Bill number 6212, House Bill number 4632, House Bill number 4894, House Bill number 5574, House Bill number 5573, House Bill number 5960.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we
Secretary will read the titles of the measures.
we ask that the Secretary read the title of the bills.
House Bill number 5863, an act converting the Hulo Elementary School in Barangay Hulo, City of Mandaluyong into an integrated school to be known as Hulo Integrated School and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 3819, an act converting the Irusin North High School in Barangay Tinampo, Municipal of Irusin, Province of Sorsogon into a national high school to be known as Irusin North National High School and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 834, an act converting the Payatan High School in Barangay Payatan, Municipality of Goa, Province of Camarines Sur into a national high school to be known as Payatan National High School and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5360, an act converting into an independent national high school to be known as the Dupax del Norte National High School, the Dupax del Norte National High School, Poblacion Annex in Barangay Poblacion of Malasin, Municipality of Dupax del Norte, Province of Nueva Vizcaya, and separating it from its mother school, the Dupax North del Norte National High School in Barangay Lamo, Municipality of Dupax del Norte, Province of Nueva Vizcaya, hereinafter renamed the Lamo National High School, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 9779 and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 4917, an act converting the Bentuco High School in Barangay Bentuco, Municipality of Gubat, Province of Sorsogon into a national high school to be known as Bentuco National High School and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 6212, an act converting the Tarlac College of Agriculture, TCA, in the Municipality of Camiling, Province of Tarlac into a state university to be known as the Tarlac Agricultural University and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 4632, an act converting the Judge Jose de Venecio Sr. Memorial National High School in Barangay Bolosan, City of Dagupan, Province of Pangasinan into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Judge Jose de Venecio Sr. Technical Vocational Secondary School and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 4894, an act converting Villaferte Peña High School in Barangay Ponglon, Municipality of San Jose, Province of Camarines Sur into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Juan C. Peña National Technical Vocational High School appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5574, an act converting the Saliok National High School in Barangay Saliok, Municipality of Natonian Mountain Province into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Saliok National Technical Vocational Schools Training High School appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5573, an act converting the Sadanga National High School in Barangay Poblacion, Municipality of Sadanga Mountain Province into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Sadanga National Technical Vocational Schools and Skills Training High School and appropriating funds therefore. And House Bill number 5960, an act converting the Lakeview Elementary School and Pedro E. Diaz High School Lakeview Annex in Barangay Putatan, City of Muntinlupa, Metro Manila into an integrated school to be known as Lakeview Integrated School and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize this representation to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for all the House bills mentioned.
With the permission of the Chamber, the Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized to deliver a sponsorship speech on all the measures
Yes, Mr. President.
so transferred, now be considered.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, committee reports number 361, 362, 363, 365, 371, 400, 420, 422, 423, 424, and 427 propose the conversion of a college into a university, as well as the conversion of an existing school into either a technical vocational school or an integrated school, or one that offers a complete basic education from kindergarten to grade 10 or kindergarten to grade 12 upon the full implementation of the K-12 law. I thus rise to sponsor the following measures: House Bill number 5863, 3819, 834, 5360, 4917, 6212, 4632, 5574, 5573, 5960, and 4894. Please note, Mr. President, that all of these have been recommended by DepEd without opposition, with the exception of the conversion of the Villafuerte Peña High School, House Bill number 4894, of which I am advised that Senator Villar will make an amendment. Mr. President, these proposed measures have earned the recommendation of the said department, as I mentioned earlier, and I urge our colleagues to fully support the measure. Thank you.
Would the sponsor kindly repeat that last sponsorship, that last portion of the sponsorship?
Yes, Mr.
speech?
President. House
All
Bill,
of these have been vetted and approved by
by the Department of Education, and none of them have any oppositions,
All right.
with the exception of 4894. In this
4894.
Yes.
Okay.
In this particular case, there is an opposition on the change of name alone, not on the fact of conversion, because in this particular case, there's a change of name and a conversion. And we have just received, actually around this time, at the time of sponsorship, an opposition, to which we also received notice from Senator Villar that she will make an amendment in view of that opposition. And we are prepared to deal with that separately later on.
All right. So we are not terminating.
I would suggest, Mr. President, if we will be able to proceed as we did in the change of names, is to have an omnibus approval for all as well. And then for this one, I will go through the period and put on record the amendment of Senator Villar for the one particular bill.
All right. What is the motion of the majority leader now?
Mr. President, there being no reservations for interpellation and amendments except for House Bill number 4894, I move with the consent of the body that we approve. We close the period of interpellation for all the aforementioned House bills, with the exception of 4894.
All right. There is a motion that we close the period of interpellation of the measures under sponsorship. Is there any objection, with the exception of House Bill 4894? Is
Yes,
there
Mr.
any
President.
objection? Hearing none.
Thank you. Mr. President, I move that we open the period of committee amendments. But there are no reservations for the period of committee amendments. Therefore, I move to close the period of committee amendments for all aforesaid mentioned bills, with, again, the exception of House Bill number 4894.
There's a motion that we close we close the period for committee amendments on the bills under consideration, except for House Bill 4894. Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period of individual amendments for all House bills, with the exception of House Bill number 4894. And there being no reservations for individual amendments, I move that we close the period of individual amendments for all
Period.
House bill numbers, with the exception of 4894.
Period for individual amendments on all the measures under consideration is hereby terminated, except for House Bill 4894.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading approve on second reading the aforementioned House bills, with the exception of 4894.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 5863, House Bill 3819, House Bill 834, House Bill 5360, House Bill 4917, House Bill 6212, House Bill 4632, House Bill 5574, House Bill 5573, House Bill 5960 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of the aforementioned bills.
Consideration measures are suspended.
Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I will now reopen. I will now move to open the period of interpellation for House Bill number 4894.
Period for interpellation on House Bill 4894 is in order.
Mr. President, Senator Villar has an amendment, but she will not interpellate, so I therefore move, and there are no other reservations for interpellation, I therefore move to close the period of interpellation for House Bill number 4894.
Period for interpellation on House Bill 4894 is terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments.
Period for committee amendments on House Bill 4894 is in order.
I move, Mr. President, to close there are no committee amendments. I move to close the period of committee amendments for 4894.
Period for committee amendments is terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments.
Period for individual amendments is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on page 1, Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I will read the individual amendments submitted to me by Senator Villar.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, on line 1,
Page
on
one.
page 1, line 4, kindly erase the words Juan C. Peña and replace it with the words Villafuerte-Peña.
Villafuerte dash Peña.
I accept this amendment submitted by Senator Villar.
So the old name is retained.
Yes, Mr. President.
All right. The Villar amendment is accepted by the sponsor on line 4 to change Juan C. period to Villafuerte dash. Any objection here on approved?
Mr. President, there is the same amendment on page 1, line 8, and
What?
page 2, line 1. Page
Ano?
1, line 8.
Why don't we make an omnibus
Yes,
amendment?
if we can, Mr. President.
Yes,
That all
please.
Mr. President, I move to make an omnibus amendment that all references to Juan C. Peña be erased and replaced with the words Villafuerte Peña. I so move.
Villafuerte dash Peña.
Yes. Last
All right. Any objection? Hearing none. The omnibus amendment adopted.
Finally, Mr. President, on the title, it's the same amendment, Mr. President. I move that the title also reflect that same change.
There appears to be no.
It's on the 5th line, Mr. President, to be known as.
So,
So
can we now read how the bill? What's the title? The title of the bill as amended.
yes. The title of the bill as amendment should read as follows: An act converting the Villafuerte Peña High School in Barangay Ponglon, Municipality of San Jose, Province of Camarines Sur, into a National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Villafuerte Peña National Technical Vocational High School, and appropriating funds therefore.
All right.
I submit.
Any objection here none?
I move that we close. I move that we close the period of individual amendments for
So
House Bill
closed.
number 4894, Mr. President.
So closed.
I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 4894.
So closed.
I move
So
that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 4894.
approved. Suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following: House Bill number 3220, 3223, 5961, 5384, 5406, 5669, 5366, 5606, 5445, 5364, 5363, 5446, 5386, 5365, 5670, 5362, 3219, 3222, and 5668.
So transferred.
With the permission of the body, I move that the Secretary read only the title of the proposed bills without prejudice to inserting into the record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
House Bill number 3220, an act separating the Pio Dalim Memorial School of Arts and Trades, Tanglagan, Annex in Barangay Tanglagan, Municipality of Calanasan, Province of Apayao, from the Pio Dalim Memorial School of Arts and Trades, converting it into Independent Technical Vocational High School to be known as Tanglagan National Agricultural and Trade High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 3223, an act separating the Conner Central National High School 3, Annex 4 in Barangay Ili, Municipality of Conner, Province of Apayao, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent National Technical Vocational High School to be known as Ili School of Arts and Trades, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5961, an act separating the Padada National High School Malinaw Extension in Barangay Lower Malinaw, Municipality of Padada, Province of Davao del Sur, from the Padada National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Malinaw National High School of Arts and Trade, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5384, an act separating the Parañaque National High School Don Galo Annex in Barangay Don Galo, City of Parañaque, Metro Manila, from the Parañaque National High School to be known as Don Galo National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5406, an act separating the Kalinga National High School Ambato Tinglayan Annex in Barangay Ambato Legleg, Municipality of Tinglayan, Province of Kalinga, from the Kalinga National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Tinglayan National High School of Arts and Trades, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5669, an act separating the Digos City National High School Mati High School Annex in Barangay Mati, City of Digos, Province of Davao del Sur, from the Digos City National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Mati National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5366, an act separating the Parañaque National High School La Huerta Annex in Barangay La Huerta, City of Parañaque, Metro Manila, from the Parañaque National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as La Huerta National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5606, an act separating the Panagaan National High School Paraiso Annex in Barangay Panagaan, Municipality of Mahayag, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, from the Panagaan National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Paraiso National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5445, an act separating the Quezon Panitian National High School Malatgao Extension in Barangay Malatgao, Municipality of Quezon, Province of Palawan, from the Quezon Panitian National High School, converting it into an independent National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5364, an act separating the Ayala National High School Tulungatong Annex in Barangay Tulungating, Zamboanga City, from the Ayala National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Tulungatong National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5363, an act separating the Tarusan National High School Malihud Extension in Barangay Malihud, Municipality of Batarasa, Province of Palawan, from the Tarusan National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Malihud National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5446, an act separating the Governor Alfredo Beg Sr. National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School Aribungos Extension in Barangay Aribungos, Municipality of Brooks Point, Province of Palawan, from the Governor Alfredo Abueg Sr. National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Inil U. Taha Memorial National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5386, an act separating the Lepanto National High School Palatong Annex in Sitio Palatong Barangay Tabi, Municipality of Mangkayan, Province of Benguet, from the Lepanto National High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Tabio National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5365, an act separating the Don Pablo Lorenzo Memorial High School Pasunangka Annex in Barangay Pasunangka, Zamboanga City, from the Don Pablo Lorenzo Memorial High School, converting it into an independent National High School to be known as Pasunangka National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5670, an act separating the Banisilan National High School Karugmanan Annex in Barangay Karugmanan, Municipality of Banisilan, province of Cotabato, from the Banisilan National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Karugmanan National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 5362, act separating the Dr. Rodolfo V. Pamor Jr. Memorial National High School, Sangay Western High School Annex in Barangay Tinurongan, Municipality of Sangay, Province of Cotabato Sur, from the Dr. Rodolfo V. Pamor Jr. Memorial National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Tinurongan National High School, appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 3219, an act separating the Conner Central National High School, Talifugo, Annex in Barangay Talifugo, Municipality of Conner, Province of Apayao, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent national technical vocational high school to be known as Talifugo National Agricultural and Trade High School and Arts High School, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 3222, an act separating the Conner National High School, Cupis, Annex 2, in Barangay Cupis, Municipality of Conner, Province of Apayao, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent national technical vocational high school to be known as Cupis National Agricultural and Trade High School, and appropriating funds therefore. And House Bill number 5668, an act separating Atok National High School Annex in Barangay Camp 30, Kaliking, Municipality of Atok, Province of Benguet, from the Atok National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Camp 30 National High School, and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I move that we recognize this representation to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for all the House bills mentioned.
The acting Majority Leader is recognized to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech for the bills measures under consideration.
Thank you. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, the separation of school annexes is the process of detaching an existing school annex from its mother school to become a separate and independent school, offering either a complete elementary or secondary education program. In effect, this process establishes new schools which require the enhancement of its capacities to adapt to and better serve the unique educational needs of the community. Today, I sponsor the following House bills as recommended by the Department of Education to be separated into the following school annexes. House Bill number 3220, 3223, 5961, 5384, 5406, 5669, 5366, 5606, 5445, 5364, 5363, 5446, 5386, 5365, 670, 5362, 3219, 3222, 5666, 5668. I humbly ask for the support for the passage of these bills. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. President, there are no reservations for interpellations. I thus move to close the period of interpellation for the aforementioned bills.
Okay. Is there any objection? There being none, period for interpellation is terminated.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period of committee amendments.
Period for committee amendments is in order.
Mr. President, there are committee amendments for a few bills, respectively House Bills number 3220, 3223, 5406, 5446, 3219, 3222, and therefore I will, with the permission of the body, I will make present the committee amendments separately, but there are no other reservations for committee amendments for the remaining bills. I therefore move to close the period of committee amendments for the bills except for those I mentioned.
All right. The period for committee amendments on House Bill 5961, 5384, 5669, 5366, 5606, 5445, 5364, 5363, 5386, 5365, 5670, 5362, 5668. The period for committee amendments are terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period for individual amendments, and we do not have for the bills, Mr. President, where the bills mentioned by the presiding officer.
All right.
I therefore move to open the period of individual amendments for the aforementioned bills, Mr. President.
So open.
Mr. President, there are no reservations for individual amendments for House Bills number 5961, 5384, 5669, 5366, 5606, 5445, 5364, 5363, 5386, 5365, 5670, 5362, and 5668. I move that we close the period of individual amendments.
So closed.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading the House bills mentioned, Mr. President.
The following bills are hereby approved on second reading. House Bill 5961, 5384, 5669, 5366, 5606, 5445, 5364, 5363, 5386, 5365, 5670, 5362, 5668. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President.
Approval second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend consideration of the aforementioned bills, Mr.
So
President.
suspended.
Thank you. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments for House Bill number 3220.
Period for committee amendments and the for House Bill 3220 is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have an omnibus motion to delete the phrase agricultural and trade in the body of the bill and in the title. I so move.
I'm sorry?
To delete the phrase agricultural and trade.
All right. This is found on
Line 6,
line
page 1.
6.
Line 2, page 2. Line 5, page 2. And on the title of the bill.
So it will now, the bill will now, or the school will now be known as Tanglagan National High School.
Yes, Mr. President.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, the committee amendment is approved. Omnibus committee amendment is approved.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendment for House Bill number 3220.
So opened.
Mr. President, there are no reservations for House Bill number 3220. I move that we close the period of individual amendments.
Period for individual amendment so closed.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 3220.
Approve on second reading.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number
So
3220.
suspended.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments for House Bill 3223.
In order.
Mr. President, I have a few amendments. On line 5, page 1, delete the phrase technical vocational.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
On line 5 and 6 of page 1, delete the phrase of arts and trades and insert between the words ILI and school the phrase national high.
Can we have it again, Madam?
Yes.
Madam Sponsor? On line 5, we delete National Technical Vocational.
Technical and vocational. technical dash vocational. That is the first
All right,
amendment, Mr.
okay,
President.
okay, technical vocational. We deleted that. That has been approved. Okay, what is the next amendment?
On line 5 and 6 of,
Still the same?
yes, Mr. President.
Yes,
On line 5 and 6 of page 1,
Yes.
delete the phrase arts and trade, arts and trades,
yes,
and insert between the words ili and school the phrase national high.
okay.
Thus, Mr. President, it will read as Ili National High School.
Ely National. Any objection here on?
Thank you, Mr. President. On line 9 of page 1, delete the phrase of arts and trades
Deleted, approved.
and insert between the word ili and school the phrase national high.
Any objection here on approved?
Thank you, Mr. President. On line 12 of page 1, delete the phrase of arts and trades
Approved. Any objection here on approved?
and insert between the words ili and school the phrase national high.
Approved.
On the title of the bill, delete the phrase technical vocational, delete the phrase of arts and trades, and insert between the words ili and school the phrase national high to now read an act separating the Conner Central National High School, Ili Annex 4 in Barangay Ili, Municipality of Conner, Province of Apayao, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Ili National High School and appropriating funds therefore.
Any objection here on approved?
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no other committee amendments. I move to close the period of committee amendments.
So closed.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments, but there are no reservations for individual amendments. I move to close the period of individual
So
amendments.
closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 3223.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 3223 under Committee Report 360 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill 3223.
So suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments for House Bill number 5406.
In order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an omnibus motion to delete the phrase of arts and trades in the body of the bill and in the title, so that the bill will read an act separating the Kalinga National High School Ambato Tinglayan Annex in Barangay Ambato Legleg, Municipality of Tinglayan, Province of Kalinga, from Kalinga National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Tinglayan National High School, and appropriating funds thereof. Therefore.
All right. Any objection to the omnibus amendment? Hearing none, approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to close the period of amendment.
Period for amendments terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments, but there being no reservations for individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual amendments.
So closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve House Bill number 5406. I submit, Mr. President.
Yes.
I move to approve on second reading.
Any objection? Hearing on House Bill 5406 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill
So
number
suspended.
5406. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments for House Bill number 5446.
In order. Please proceed.
Mr. President, I have an omnibus motion to delete the word memorial in the body of the bill and in the title, so that the title will read an act separating the Governor Alfredo Abueg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, Aribungos Extension in Barangay Aribungos, Municipality of Brooks Point, Province of Palawan, from the Governor Alfredo Abueg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Inil U Taha National High School, and appropriating funds thereof. I submit.
You are deleting the word memorial.
Yes, Mr. President.
That's an omnibus amendment.
Yes, Mr. President.
Whenever it is found, the word memorial is hereby deleted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to close the period of committee amendment for House Bill number 5446.
So terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments for House Bill number 5446. And since there are no reservations for individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual amendments for
So
House
closed.
Bill number 5446.
So closed.
A minute suspension, Mr. President.
Sorry?
A
1
minute
minute.
suspension.
1 minute suspension.
So when you refer to the old name, hindi mo siya tatanggalin. Okay. Okay. And then, what, saan siya inulit? Ano lang, but now, so I'll just ask the correct one. So, I go back to the period. Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session resumed.
Mr. President, just to point out, the statement of His Honor on deletion of all words, all mention of the word memorial, might not be, is not accurate because there is a reference to the old name. So if we take out the word memorial, even the old name will change. Therefore, Mr. President, I am also I think my statement on it being a omnibus motion might have caused that confusion, and therefore I think the proper thing to do, Mr. President, is for me to just go through each line. And there are only 3 lines, Mr. President.
The presiding officer was just approving the motion of the
Yes.
sponsor
Yes.
on an omnibus amendment to delete the word memorial.
Yes, it is my error, Mr. President.
So we reconsider the approval
Yes.
of the omnibus amendment and reopen the period for committee amendments.
Yes, Mr. President. I move to reconsider, and I will submit my new amendments, Mr. President.
Approval of the committee amendments under House Bill 5446 is reconsidered.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I submit the following committee amendments. First, on line 6 of page 1, delete the word memorial.
Any objection or none approved?
On line 2 of page 2, delete the word memorial.
Any objection or none approved?
Thank you. On line 4 of page 2, delete the word memorial.
Approved.
And on the title of the bill, delete the word... delete the word memorial in the second to the last line, such that the title will read, an act separating the Governor Alfredo Abueg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, Aribungos Extension in Barangay Aribungos, Municipality of Brooks Point, Province of Palawan, from the Governor Alfredo Abueg Senior National Technology and Vocational Memorial High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Inil U Taha National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. I submit, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I move to close the period of committee amendments. Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments, but there being no individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual amendments.
Closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 5446.
So closed.
Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of House Bill
So
number
suspended.
5446. Mr. President, I move to open the period for committee amendments of House Bill number 3219.
In order.
Mr. President, on line 5 of page 1, delete the phrase technical vocational.
Approved.
Mr. President, on line 6 of page 1, delete the phrase agricultural and trade.
Approved.
On line 2 of page 2, delete the phrase agricultural and trade.
Approved.
On line 5 of page 2, delete the phrase agricultural and trade.
Approved.
On the title of the bill, delete the phrase technical, vocational, and agricultural and trade to now read, an act separating the Conner Central National High School, Talifugo Annex in Barangay Talifugo, Municipality of Conner, province of Apaya, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as Talifugo National High School, and appropriating funds therefore.
Approved.
Mr. President, I move to close the period of committee amendments for House Bill number 3219.
Period for committee amendments on House Bill 3219 is hereby terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to open the period for individual amendments, but there being no individual amendment, I move to close the period for individual amendment.
Period for individual amendments is terminated.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 3219.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 3219 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill number
So
3219.
suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move to open the period of committee amendments for House Bill number 3222.
Period for committee amendments under House Bill 3222 is hereby is in order. Please proceed with the committee
Thank you,
amendments.
Mr. President. This is an omnibus motion to delete the phrase agricultural trade in the body of the bill and in the title. So the title will read, an act separating the Conner Central National High School, Cupis Annex 2 in Barangay Cupis, Municipality of Conner, Province of Apaya, from the Conner Central National High School, converting it into an independent national technical vocational high school to be known as Cupis National High School, and appropriating funds therefore. I so move.
An omnibus amendment to delete agriculture and trade whenever it appears in the bill, including the title. Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to close the period of amendment for the period for committee amendment on House Bill number 3222.
Period for committee amendments terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to open the period of individual amendment for House Bill number 3222, but there being no individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual
So
amendments.
closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 3222.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 3222 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill
So
number
suspended.
3222. Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders the following: House Bill number 4368, 6131, 4290, 604, 6155, 5385. That's it, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. So transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
The titles of these measures are deemed read into the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this representation is recognized to sponsor them, to make an omnibus sponsorship speech
Senator
for the
Cayetano is
measures.
recognized to deliver an omnibus sponsorship speech.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, the establishment of new schools is important in improving the quality of education and learning by helping decongest existing schools that are already overcrowded. Ultimately, the establishment of schools seek to ensure that every child has a place to study and learn that will not be burdensome to him or his family. I am thus privileged to sponsor the following measures: House Bill number 4368, 6131, 4290, 604, 6155, 5385. These proposed measures have earned the recommendation of the Department of Education. I therefore urge our colleagues to give their full support for the passage of these bills. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cayetano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to close the period of interpellation as there are no reservations for interpellation.
So terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments.
In order.
Mr. President, there being no committee amendments save for House Bill number 6131, I move to close the period of committee amendments for House Bills number 4368, 4290, 604, 6155, and 5385.
So terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to open the period of individual amendments for the aforementioned bills.
Period for individual amendments is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no reservations for individual amendments. I therefore move to close the period for individual amendments of the aforementioned bills.
So closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bills number 4368, 4290, 604, 6155, 5385.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill 4368, House Bill 4290, House Bill 604, House Bill 6155, House Bill 5385 are hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the aforementioned
Consideration
House
of the
bills.
measures are suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to open the period for committee amendment of House Bill 6131.
Committee amendment on House Bill 6131 is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. On line 20 and 21 of page 2, delete the phrase "in Barangay Santo Niño."
Can we have it again, ma'am?
On line 20 and 21,
On page 2.
page 2, delete the phrase "in Barangay Santo Niño."
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to close the period of committee amendments.
So terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period for individual amendment, but there being no individual amendments, I move to close the period of individual
So
amendments.
closed.
I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6131.
Any objection? Hearing none, House Bill 6131 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill number
Consideration of the measure is
6131.
suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. A minute suspension, Mr. President.
Pwede ba? Meron pa akong meeting. Tapos na lahat na schools. Yeah. Tapos na rin natin, di ba? Meron pa.
One more bill. Sponsor.
Ano ito?
Ano ba ito? National Shrine, Balete Pass.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Submit into the record na.
Ha?
Submit ko na.
Mr.
Okay.
President, ready to resume.
Okay, session is resumed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we transfer House Bill number 844 under Committee Report number 410 from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders.
So transferred.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, please proceed.
Mr. President, I move that the Secretary read the title of the measure.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
An act declaring the Balete Pass and Santa Fe, Nueva Vizcaya as a national shrine to be known as the Balete Pass National Shrine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this representation be recognized to sponsor the measure, but I can just submit the my sponsorship speech into the record for the declaration of Balete Pass in Santa Fe, Nueva Vizcaya as a national shrine, Mr. President, with the
All right.
permission of the body.
The sponsorship speech is read into the record. Can the chair have a copy of the measure, please? Can we have 1 minute suspension?
Tomorrow, pwede tayo tomorrow.
Session is resumed. Please proceed, Senator Gaeta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the consent of the body, I move to close the period of interpellation. This is simply a recognition of a known landmark as a national shrine.
Any objection? Hearing none. Period for interpellation is terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period of committee amendments.
Committee amendments are is in order.
There are no committee amendments, Mr. President. I move to close the period of committee
Period for
amendments.
committee amendments terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments, but there are no individual amendments. I move to close the period of individual
Period
amendments.
for amendments terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve on second reading Committee Report Number 410. House Bill 844 under Committee Report Number 410.
Any objection hearing none, House Bill 844 under Committee Report Number 410 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of House Bill Number 844.
So suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, January 27, 2016.
Session is adjourned until 3 p.m. of Wednesday, January 27, 2016.